Our movie starts with Tori and Kyle, who were married but still don't have children. And Tori hears a loud voice and looks out the window. They find a spaceship in their farm after 12 years. We see Tori with her son, whose name is Brandon, and Brandon goes in his school, where he was bullied by his classmates for being smarter than all of them, and no one talks to him at all. Except for Kate, his colleague. Brandon is asleep, and a green light comes from their farm, and Brandon is seen hanging in his bed. And when he opens his eyes, we see they are red. He jumps from the window toward the storage, and his mother gets up to a loud noise and he is breaking the storage door. As soon as she touches him, he wakes up as if he had been walking while asleep, and she returns him to bed and tells her husband. He talks about everything that happened. The next day, Brandon tries to start the lawnmower, but it doesn't. When he works, Brandon gets mad at her and pushes her, but the surprise is that she flies away, and Brandon is very confused about what happened. How did he manage to do that? He goes toward the machine, finds its motor running and the fan spinning, and when the fan is the one that breaks and malfunctions, not his hand, and of course, we don't advise anyone to try this because you will get hurt. After that, they go to have lunch with their friends, and their friend's dad brought a rifle for Brandon to learn hunting. His father takes it from him and tells him. Now at that moment, Brandon gets mad at Kyle and slams his hand on the table. Suddenly, all the toys in the place stop because their energy cut off, and the day gets ruined, and they return home. Again. The next day they are going on a camping trip. At that time, when Tori enters Brandon's room, she finds her son hiding pictures of intestines and dissecting and strange things. She asks Kyle to talk to Brandon because that boy looks older than his age, and they go on the hunt. They ask Kyle if there is. He likes her, so Brandon tells him there is a girl with him. He loves her and Kyle tells him that's normal. But the most important thing is to watch out for his actions so that she can impress him too, and Brandon goes at night to the house of the colleague he admires. At that time, his classmate gets up, and a romantic song is playing on her computer. Suddenly, it started by itself, so she gets up to lock it, and when she looks standing behind her curtain, she finds Brandon, and she screams and calls her mother, telling her that Brandon is standing behind the curtain. It's not something, and she thinks she is imagining it. The next day, Brandon comes back home and stands in front of the chickens, looking at them strangely. Kyle then comes, and they see it, and he is surprised to see him standing in front of the chickens. What are you doing, my son? After that, they enter to sleep, but suddenly he wakes up to a strange noise and goes to see. He finds all the chickens dead and goes to call his wife, telling her that it's Brandon. These chickens could not possibly have been harmed like that by a wolf, and the door was broken too, but she doesn't believe him. That he is also her son, who is barely 12 years old, and he must have done that too and broken the door as well. After that, they are playing soccer at school, and Brandon falls to the ground. At that moment, the coach asks Kate to help him, but she refuses, telling him that he is perverted, but the coach gets angry with her. And he asks her to help him, so Kate is forced to extend her hands to him, but at that moment, Brandon squeezes her hands so tightly that she screams in pain, and Kyle and Tori go to school because of what happened, and Kate's mother. She might want him to be imprisoned, but the principal tells her that he will be suspended from school for only 2 days, and they return home, and on the day when he was at the basement storage door, he knew what was inside. He tells her that Brandon is like them, but surely his composition is different because he has never bled or anything like that, and now he has started to hurt the people, and he doesn't know, and Brandon goes to the basement, breaks the door, and his mother goes and sees him hanging in the air. And he says strange things. As soon as she calls him, he falls to the ground and gets hurt on his hand for the first time. At that moment, his mother takes him in her arms and tells him that he is not like her, and that she requested him from the spaceship, and she asked for a child who is different from all the other children. At that moment, Brandon gets annoyed by what he hears, gets angry, everything, and he leaves the house while repeating the phrase, "Take over the world," and his eyes change shape as he gets angry and goes to Kate. He apologizes to her and gives her a rose. She tells him that the problem is in her mother. She wants him to talk to her again, so he tells her that he will take care of her mother. What will you do? And he goes to her mother she works in, and she draws his symbol on the glass all around her in the entire place. At that moment, terrified she is. Suddenly he breaks the bulbs and the glass in the place, and the glass comes at her and enters her eyes, the fridge, and she runs. But someone accesses it and breaks it. The next day, the police come to investigate the disappearance of Kate's mom. And the investigator discovers the symbol drawn on the glass. Then we see Brandon sitting with the psychologist, who is Tori's sister, acting as her aunt, named Mary, and she is required to. She has to write a report about Brandon's condition after he broke Kate's arm and asks him to talk about what he feels, but he refuses to say anything. She tells him that she will have to tell the truth to the principal, so Brandon decides to go to Mary after school. And he tells her not to mention it to the police because if he does, it will harm his family too, and she must. Changes her report, so she tells him that his presence now at 12 o'clock is not accurate, so he leaves, and she locks the apartment door. A voice in the garden. After that, so she goes out and leaves the door, then returns after Brandon has entered the house and wants to kill her. But her husband has arrived and sees him, so he asks him what he is doing in his house. Brandon tells him that Mary was studying for him. But her husband doesn't believe her and takes him with him to report to his parents. However, Brandon gets angry with him and throws him to the ground. And he tries to escape in his car. But Brandon catches up with him and flips the car, and Tori is worried about her son because he hasn't come back. She is worried about him. That makes him worry a lot when he arrives. He tells her he was playing with his friends and they were teasing him and they pulled each other's shirts. It was cut, and at 12 o'clock, Mary tells them that her husband had an accident and asks them whether Brandon returned home or not. That night they return home and talk with Brandon. Kyle tells him that they know he is the reason behind everything. What is happening, and Brandon wants to leave and does not respond to them. But his dad grabs him. At that moment, Brandon gets angry at him and pushes him hard. They are very surprised at what happened. And the agent waits for his son to go to the bathroom, and he enters to search his room until he finds his shirt, blood on it, and Kyle tells Tori, his wife, he is the one who did this to Mary's husband. But Tori still can't believe that Brandon might kill someone. So what can we do for you to believe it? But Kyle tells her that he is not their son. This was a monster that was in a spaceship, and they took him and raised him, and the officer is still investigating the case. He sees the same symbol that was on the glass next to the flipped car, and Kyle goes with him on a fishing trip to calm him down. The many problems that occurred, and the officer goes to Tori to show her the symbol and asks her if she knows anything about it because Brandon is the common factor in both incidents, and he asks her to let him search the house, but she refuses and tells him that he cannot. Mariah has a search review to enter and search after leaving. She finds Brandon's room and sees his drawings. And that has the same symbol as his. And she is sure he is the reason for everything happening. When we return from the hunting trip in the forest, we find the animals and Kyle take 2 steps back and shoots himself in the head with a bullet, but it's like nothing happened, and at that moment he tries to escape. When he finds that Brandon was not affected by the bullets, but suddenly Brandon disappears, Kyle looks around and sees Brandon in front of him. When he put on his mask and shot fire from his eyes, he burned Kyle until he died. At the same time, Kyle's phone rings. And Brandon takes him on him, and Tori is the one who calls to warn him and tells him that their son is a killer and a monster, so be careful of him. So when he appears to her, Brandon makes her frightened, and she asks him about their location. He tells her that Kyle is gone and that he is coming to her house now. At that moment, Tori senses danger and feels the whole house shaking, and Brandon is flying over the house, surrounding the entire house. And Tori tries to escape but doesn't know how and calls the police for help. Tori sees her son as he destroys the whole house and can't do anything. And the officer comes to help her, but he doesn't get to finish his words because Brandon kills him, and the policewoman comes and tells her to try. She hides above until the support arrives and hides under the bed, seeing Brandon killing the police officer, and Tori gets up. She jumps from the window and gets hurt. She thinks that the only thing that could stop him is the box in the storage that has caused him an injury before. So she quickly goes to the storage room and takes a metal bar from the box to kill him with it. When she arrives there, she sees the body of Kate's mother, who has been killed there. As soon as Brandon enters, his mother tries to calm him and takes him in her arms. She is still about to kill him, but he takes in his mind, and he throws it up, and she falls dead on the ground, and he destroys the whole house, and from all that destruction, Brandon is the only one who is still alive, and his news spreads all over the world, that there is someone flying and destroying everything and making his symbol everywhere. A part where he is, and no one can stop him, and the film ends. Don't forget to like the video and follow the page. Like on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up with all the news.